Welcome to another episode of Manifestation TV. I feel like this is a microphone, but it's actually a pencil that's a drumstick. Welcome. I don't know why I grabbed this. But anyways, drum roll, introducing Kamila Gornia, digital marketing strategist, blow up, scale up. Is that the tagline? Blow up, scale up. So excited to have her on Manifestation TV because she's manifested some crazy shit and she's going to tell us how she did it. Welcome.
Woo, thanks so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know you, a little bit about what you do and kind of a micro version of how you got to where you are right now.
A micro version. Oh my God. So it's probably going to be like
the macro. I want to hear all of it.
Yeah. So I am the blow up online marketing strategist where a lot of what I focus on is helping passion driven modern entrepreneurs to, blow up online. So that means, having a bigger audience online, getting in front of more people, sharing their message and actually increasing their profits. So that's the kind of the scale up. So a lot of the things that I tend to focus on have to do with audience building, list building, sales funnels, which is where the profit kind of generation comes into play, and then Facebook ads, which comes into play with the audience and then the profits together. So those are like my three main specialties, but it's kind of where I decided, I've been focusing on for the last 2 years now, maybe or so. So yeah, so that's what I do now, and I have been doing online marketing for a while. So it's probably been 14 years then, because I started when I was 12.
Wait.
Yes, I started when I was 12. Well, I didn't know I was doing marketing at the time. I was just kind of like, okay, well, we got dial-up internet. And I was like, okay, well, I'm bored. And my mom was working because, back in Poland, my dad was in America. My mom was working.
You're Polish?
Mm-hmm. You're Polish too, right?
This is okay. This is so good already. Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Poland, small town in Poland. And so I was kind of like raised by just my mom because my dad actually went to America when I was starting first grade. So I kind of had to raise myself in a way. And only child. So I was kind of bored a lot. And, my mom would be like, don't hang out with the bad kids, gotta stay home and not, bad influence and stuff. Cause in Poland, everybody's, kind of ratchet a little bit. Especially in the smaller towns. I mean, there's
a great way to describe it.
Yeah. So,
people.
So, I got a computer and I was like, okay, well, we got dial-up internet. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to see what I can kind of do with this. And I saw a couple of websites that I liked and I'm like, I can do this. I can figure out how to do this because I was a creative kid. And I figured it out, I guess. I just downloaded this tutorial, 100 pages, printed off about HTML, built my first website and started driving traffic to it. And to me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm driving traffic. It was like, how do we get more people to know about this thing that I'm doing? How do I connect with more people in Poland that like this thing that I'm talking about on this website? How do I get more people to download this? And I wanted everything that I do, I wanted to have an impact. If nobody knows this, about this thing that I'm focusing on, it kind of there's a disconnect for me. For me, it's always been about sharing whatever it is that I'm doing. So it was a very natural kind of thing. And I didn't know that's what traffic or, I knew it was downloads because that's literally what it's called. But that's kind of where everything started. And then the different ventures that I had a photography business for 6 years and I had a wellness blog for about 3. And I did actually, I worked in a couple of marketing agencies as well, but it wasn't until I've had these 2 businesses, until I worked in a couple of different agencies when I actually realized, oh, okay, well, marketing, I think, comes kind of easily to me. So maybe I should actually do that as my business and kind of focus on that and, allow it to be easy because I've always tried to make everything hard for myself for whatever reason. So I decided to make it easy and, everything has flown really well since then. So
that is so cool. I love that you had the entrepreneurial bug basically all your life. That is really, really cool. And it just goes to show manifestation has a lot to do with also connecting the dots. The next step kind of appears and you don't know that that's the next step and you just kind of are going until you get to this place where you're like, hey, all the dots connected finally.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit, that can be what manifestation looks like at times. So for people out there who are watching you online and are saying she's so huge, she had her big break. What do you say to them about the big break? This thing that they're dreaming about that will happen one day?
Honestly, I think it's, everybody is their own worst critic. So to me, I don't think I have my big break necessarily. Like, maybe to somebody else, they're like, oh, she's blowing up. Well, okay, well, I could say that about, a lot of people. And it's really like how you perceive yourself is how you're going to show up. And I think that, like we're always going to be looking to somebody else, somebody that's bigger than us. Like I'm sure, maybe except for Oprah, but like maybe Oprah is looking at, I don't know who she's looking for in a mirror. but like there's always going to be somebody that we compare ourselves to. And I think it's really important that we actually stay in our own lane and whoops, my hair just gets crazy all over and we don't we don't try to be like this other person or do exactly what this other person was doing, because like we're going to be building either a business or a life that isn't actually aligned with how we want to lead our life or our business. And I think that was kind of a big one where I see a lot of people doing amazing things, and I'm just like, man, how are they able to, like, how did they get their big break, or how did they get to this goal? Like, I really want to get to that goal. How do they do it? And it's really easy for us to get lost in that chase and that comparison, and then we try to do it in their way, and then a little bit later we're like, well, I actually hate my business, I hate my life, because like, well, you weren't doing what you actually were feeling called to do. This is where a lot of people, I feel like, come in and they become life coaches or business coaches when they have like no prior experience whatsoever, or training, or even like, how do they even get into this? Well, they're following somebody else's footsteps usually. They're not, or maybe a coach told them, hey, you should teach entrepreneurs. So they're like, all right, even though they've never done it before. And, maybe they'll be successful for a little while, but it's not sustainable, I think, because they're not building a business that feels truly aligned. Unless it does, then, if it does, then great. But a lot of times I see people like, doing it for a little while and then they stop. Well, it's because, it wasn't aligned to begin with. And I think that it's really important that we actually listen to what we feel, the impact that we want to leave on the world. So
that is huge. I hope everyone listening is taking that to heart. I've definitely made the pivot. I came online copywriting because I would have a therapist background, but I didn't know that I could use that online. I didn't know how to do that. So a lot of people lead with, their most like tangible thing that they know how to do, and then they need to pivot. And you're right. Take the time for the clarity, and you won't have to be doing 10 steps back and being like, crap, now everybody thinks I'm this, but really I'm this. Mm-hmm. So give yourself the time to get the clarity. And it's really hard to manifest from a place of not alignment.
Yeah.
Really hard. So definitely take that advice, guys. Do you have a daily practice? Do you have something that you do that keeps your mindset and like yourself aligned with what you want?
For me, I think it's pretty natural. I don't necessarily have like a practice per se, because I think that my mindset tends to be very focused. Like I know what I want and I think about it like naturally. Like I've allowed myself to, like, I used to not daydream or anything like that, because I thought I was always a realist, like Polish. So I was always very pragmatic. So, whenever I would see like my old roommate, she was like a master visualizer. And she would like, I remember I walked into her room one day, we lived together, and she was just like, her eyes were closed and she was kind of like moving around and speaking, and she was like saying things. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm pretending that I'm in my dream kitchen right now. And I'm like doing things and like as things are, and like pretending she's in her dream house. And I'm like, this girl is freaking crazy. And she was really into it. And, I kind of started to see the value of that. And she knew, like, she started attracting really good opportunities to her. She's actually, wanting to be an actress in LA. So she's getting opportunities left and right when she's in LA right now. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is kind of interesting. And, I started seeing people talking about this. So for me, it wasn't necessarily like I have to dream and like constantly, pretend like I'm there. But for me, it's just allowing myself to even daydream about it. If I'm just sitting back, like, what do I actually want things to look like? So for me, my next thing is like, I want a really nice apartment. So I've been visualizing, how would that apartment look like? And I never used to think that way. So I think for me, it's just visualizing it and allowing myself to see what that could potentially even look like, even if it's not the realistic thing to necessarily do. Something else that I do sometimes is I journal. I don't do it consistently necessarily, because I don't think it's necessarily a part of me. But for me, what helps is writing things out or journaling every once in a while, and then putting it aside, and then kind of coming back to it every once in a while. So I actually did this a while ago before I knew that it was like a practice, a self-care practice. And some of the things that I wrote out actually came true, which is pretty cool. Like living in New York, or having a business. I didn't even know I wanted to have a business at the time, and like things came true. So for me, it's kind of like setting an intention for it and then just letting it into the universe, if you will. What are some other things? I mean, I try to, I move my body. I go for walks pretty much every day. I listen to music that I actually love listening to. I think music is a big part of my life. So I listen to music pretty much every single
What do you listen
day.
to?
So my musical tastes are a little bit different because I like very chill music, like post-rock, some like chill electronic. I'm really bad at naming genres, so I probably am not.
Is your energy generally very chill? Is that like your most of the time energy?
Yeah, people always tell me that I'm very like down to earth, so I try to be like pretty chill. I think I can be intense sometimes if I'm really getting into it, but for the most part, I think I'm pretty down to earth and pretty, kind of like, all right, let's do whatever it is that we're trying to do. So yeah, for me, I think it's just being conscious of kind of what's going on and how I can feel good at any given point in time and not overwhelm myself with things. I mean, I'm able to do that now. I didn't used to be able to when I still had my 9-to-5 and like 2 other businesses. But I think that's, for me, a big part of self-care is just noticing what I need to let go of and allowing myself to let go of that to make space for what I actually want to do or how I want to feel.
Really good points there. Giving yourself permission to dream, daydream, like allowing your thoughts to wander instead of, for example, people that are constantly focusing like on the money.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes focusing on that all the time, even though it's like a goal, it can also be destructive. You can be beating yourself up with that. So permission to daydream, permission to let things go, permission to let things go that aren't working, that aren't like totally in alignment. Beautiful. Love that practice. And it sounds just like, having a general chilled out energy, I think is much better for manifesting than even being high energy all the time. But allowing yourself to just like, it's more receptive to be chill, right? Like it's more, you can observe, you can see what's going on and you can receive. If you're like moving at the speed of light, I don't know how much you can receive.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of interesting because, although my energy is mostly like chilled out, which is funny because which kind of going to the West Coast and the East Coast kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So I always thought I was more of an East Coast person because I mean, I'm a hustler. Like I can hustle and I can, make shit happen. And, I always thought that like, oh, New York is going to be perfect for me because I just like love that kind of energy. But at the same time, I think I'm pretty balanced in both of them, So I think, although I probably wouldn't excel if everything around me was super chilled out. I think it's important to have kind of, know when to be more intense and know when to be more chilled out. And I think that what happens to me is that when I'm in my high vibe, not high vibe, but like high energy all the time, it's really easy for it to actually disrupt my sleep. And it's easy for it to like just disrupt how I live my life. And my anxiety tends to increase because I have anxiety sometimes if I don't manage that kind of energy. And that's just not good at all because then I become completely, unproductive. And, all I want to do is like lay in bed and just try to, with freaking ice cream or something and just try to calm myself down. And that's never productive at all. So I think it's important to have both when necessary, but really managing that kind of energy and that vibe too.
Really, really important energy management as an entrepreneur because it's like the life source of your business. If you can't function, if you haven't found that balance, it's going to be really hard to sustain. So tell me what are some of the coolest things you've ever manifested, and maybe like one thing that you manifested that was really crap?
Okay. So I think the coolest things, is just the opportunities that come my way or like the clients that come my way. I have 2 sides of my business. So probably half of my business is we do Facebook ad management. And the cool thing about that is that literally that side of my business has been manifested by itself. I don't think I've ever had to promote anything. And we get clients, like high level clients all the time just from referrals. And I haven't done anything to even get those referrals. It just naturally comes to me. And I think that's been the coolest thing, because it's allowed me to grow my business in the way that I wanted to scale that side of my business, which is more the agency kind of model, where I have people supporting me and I have a couple of team members that actually help me with that side of the business, because it was a vision that I had. Like, I wanted to have people that support me from that kind of perspective. So it's been really cool. But then the other thing is just like the travel that I want to do. Like, I wanted to live in New York for a long time, and like, here I am. I just, never thought it'd be ever possible. And I found the most, amazing apartment that I never thought I'd be able to find for the price. And like, everything's included. All the utilities are included, just a flat rate, furnished, for the exact time frame that I wanted to be in New York for. And everything has aligned really nicely. I'm going to be in San Diego for a little while. So it's like all the opportunities for travel, I think it's been the biggest one, because that's a very high priority for me when it comes to kind of exploring within the US or America in general. I'll get to Europe probably soon, but I kind of want to stay in here for a little while. So I think that's been probably the coolest thing. In terms of, what was it, the strangest or the weirdest?
Like, maybe the weirdest or like the not so good manifesting, because we can manifest pretty crap stuff sometimes too.
I think for me, the not so great thing has been weight gain. It's actually pretty interesting, because my second business, which I didn't think it was a business until like I got over myself, and like, if you're making money, it's probably a business. It was a wellness blog, and I used to be really, really into wellness and healthy living and like healthy recipes and stuff. And then when I started my marketing business, I was working my 9 to 5. I was still working my photography business. I had my wellness blog, and I literally had no time for anything. And because of that, I started to not socialize as much, because I wasn't able to like literally have time for it, because I wanted to get out of my 9 to 5 and have the marketing business, which was the most aligned for me. And through that hustle, a little bit too much hustle, I think what happened is I wanted it so bad that a lot of things, the priorities that I had before, kind of fell to the wayside. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the crappiest thing. And anybody that's ever gained weight knows that it's not easy to lose it again, especially once we're in a different lifestyle. So that's probably something that has not been so great, but you know what? I think I'm confident in my manifesting abilities now. So
I feel like it's a passionpreneur rite of passage.
Yeah. I hear it from a lot of people.
My leggings and moo outfit for the day.
Yeah. No, I hear it from a lot of people. So I'm not necessarily, it's like, I know that I'm not alone necessarily, but I think it's, as things start to kind of fall in place, it's important to start to reprioritize things. And I'm able to, have more time for myself and actually do whatever I want to do. So putting health first again is something that is, becoming a priority now for me.
Cool. I'm so glad to hear that. What I think audiences are always curious to know, what has been your relationship to money on this journey?
That is a good one. So for me, money, it's actually pretty interesting, because I grew up in a like lower middle class family in Poland. We always, money was never something that I had a good relationship with. My mom was actually an entrepreneur when we were in Poland, but she did it out of need, not necessarily because she wanted to, and she was never around. So for me, making money equals never having time for family. My dad left to go to America to make money. So my dad left me when I was 6, and my mom, where I was all alone. So making money is more important than family again. So for me, it's no surprise that family is not a big priority for me, unfortunately, because of that. I had to get over a lot of these things in terms of, money can actually be good for you. Money can actually give you a lot of freedom, and you can, live your life the way that you want to. So I had to get over the fact that like, it's okay to make money and not sacrifice your life. It's okay to make money and not sacrifice your family, or not sacrifice your friends, or not sacrifice whatever it is that you want to sacrifice. Money doesn't have to come with struggle. That was probably the biggest one. When I was getting to my first 10K month, I had to get over the fact that like, I can actually sustain by myself. I can actually trust myself enough to grow and like sustain my own business and not have to rely on a job to support me, which was a really hard one to let go of. But, you know, I broke through it, obviously. So that was possible. And then when I was getting to like my next 20 and then, you know, 30K months, you know, I think a lot of it came with hiring as well. It's like, okay, now I'm getting money, but like, I don't want to like go of the money because like, oh my God, what if it just disappears? And then I'm going to be like shit out of luck. And then, you know, I'll have to move back with my parents or something. It's trusting that like, I know how to manage money, even though I don't, you know, spend it like a, you know, like a shopaholic. I don't even shop that much because it's not a hobby of mine necessarily. But it's like, I know how to manage money. I know that, you know, whatever I have to put out is going to come back in. It's like the abundance kind of thing versus lack. I think before it was a lot of lack mentality where, you know, like paying for taxes, like, oh my God, I have to pay for taxes. Oh my God, like how, and then I'm back at zero. Oh my gosh, it's like my life is going to, you know, fall apart. But, you know, like I'm paying it because I'm paying it, it means I made a lot, and that's exciting. And I know this is going to come back to me again because like, why wouldn't it? It's been going well so far. So it's having a lot of these kind of realizations that, you know, money is energy and money is abundance. And, you know, it's really how we perceive money that we're able to break through to the next goals. And with any next goal that we have, whether I look at monthly goals, whenever the next like breakthrough that we want to have is really seeing, okay, if I haven't reached it yet, why haven't I reached it yet? What am I afraid is going to happen when that, you know, if I reach that, what's going to change in my life? And, you know, I'm young. So a lot of the things that was holding me back too is like, people aren't taking me seriously. So therefore I'm not going to make the money that I want to make because I think people not taking me seriously anyway. I'm young, you know, whenever I go to like networking events or like conferences, people will be like, what is this child doing here? Like I kind of,
oh my God.
Well, they never said that to me, but I could see like they would just kind of look down on me a little bit and like, you don't even know, like, you don't even know me. So that was a big thing that was kind of holding me back too. And I knew it was holding me back from getting to the next level because, you know, if people think that, that must be true, then like, who am I to prove them wrong? It was, you know, and obviously it wasn't conscious. It was all subconscious things. I had to work through with a mindset coach through all that kind of stuff. And
you've done a lot of work.
Yeah.
Guys, when you're hiring someone like a marketing strategist, how much better is it when your marketing strategist already has all this stuff in her, you know, amygdala, whatever. In her subconscious.
Like major, so.
It affects the way that your ads produce. It affects everything. I think that's something, you know, incredible that you've highlighted, like all the work that you've done to get there. There's no such thing as overnight success. Every step has like its own challenge. Every next goal has its own challenge. And then also think about who you're hiring and that they have this stuff going on already. Even if they're providing you with a service that doesn't have to do particularly with mindset, if you're copywriter, if you're marketing strategist, if you're accountant, if all these people that surround you have that mindset, a little bit impossible to not succeed here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's like even extra bonus to working with someone like you is that you have that background already.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool because so most of the people that I work with are in my year-long mastermind. So obviously it's marketing and like business profit, you know, next level stuff kind of related, but it's pretty interesting because I don't consider myself a coach necessarily, but I coach them when necessary around the things that I have, you know, been coached on before, have, you know, had breakthroughs of my own. Because otherwise, you know, I think even with my marketing clients before, since I didn't have that kind of mindset, I always thought like, okay, what's wrong with the strategy? Why is this like this strategy should work? Why is it not working? Where now I understand that like, well, strategy is a piece of it. But if you don't have all the pieces, the mindset pieces, even the emotional pieces in place, if you're not ready for the next level, it's not going to happen. It's like, you know, when somebody wins a lottery and, you know, they get all this money and all of a sudden, like, you know, a year later, they're like more ends up than they ever were before. It's the same kind of concept, you know, just giving you a ticket. Like if I was to give somebody, you know, the perfect launch strategy that you're going to win and like, oh my God, you're going to, you know, make $1 million, fantastic. If you're not ready for that, well, it's not going to happen. You're going to block yourself from doing it. And I see this all the time too. It's like, especially with launches, when your energy isn't aligned with what you want to achieve with the launch itself, it feels yucky about it. Like no strategy in the world or no copy in the world is going to fix that, because you ultimately don't want it to actually get to the place that you want it to be at subconsciously.
So huge. So huge. And this is for all the like people who are getting into the quick fix mode, who are running out of money, who are getting into quick fix, who are like, I need the next thing to break me through. Sit down and do the work.
Yeah.
Camila so one last thing I'll ask is for the people who are in the struggle right now, who are in the struggle to have that first, that first income, that first success, that first thing, happening for their business. What advice do you have for them?
I think the biggest thing that I say, and this is what I see with my clients a lot when they pivot, because I don't usually work with newbies, but I work with people that have been in business. So a lot of people that I work with tend to pivot, where they had a business and then they shifted. So things that happen for them, it's kind of like they're new, because they have to get completely new clients in a different kind of area, and it's brand new to them. So what happens is that if you're not attracting clients, if you're not getting the money that you need, it's really looking at your situation and like, why is that not happening? A lot of times it's just you haven't called in the clients that you want to have. You haven't gotten clear on who that person is. You haven't opened yourself up. And that's it's not even a marketing thing. It's like an energy thing. Again, I really believe, I'm a big believer in energy, and not necessarily from the like woo-woo perspective. I don't really think I'm like super woo-woo per se, but I think it's a realistic, like it's a for real thing, like I've seen the effects of it. And I think that if you're closed off to getting clients because of, X, Y, and Z that's going on in your life or your head or, your mindset, your beliefs, these clients, like these opportunities, even though they're probably already out there, they're not going to, like, you're not going to get out there and reach them. And this is whenever I share that with my clients, they start to actually notice the opportunities that they have in front of them. These opportunities were around them the entire time. It's just a matter of actually, oh, okay, I'm actually going to go out and reach it and do something about it. And I'm actually going to go out and be open to receiving this other opportunity. And then it's kind of like it's like when somebody tells you to think about a yellow car, and then, all of a sudden you see yellow cars all the time. It's the same thing, just being open to receiving that, and then not being afraid of actually showing up as the person that you are and like what it is that you share. A lot of times people say, well, I haven't got any clients, and like, oh my God, I suck. And when I ask them, okay, well, have you told everybody? And like, are you constantly talking about the fact that you do this? Are you passionate about this? Do you exude this energy of like, oh my God, I'm doing this amazing thing? Like, doesn't matter if you have clients or not. Is that energy that people want to be around? A lot of times they hold it to themselves. They hide the fact that they're even doing this thing that they're doing. How is anybody supposed to know that they're doing it if they're not sharing it with others? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I think that's probably the biggest tweak that anybody can do, and you don't need a marketing background to do it. So
focus on your energy, and let that be the place that you're starting from. Look at that and look at your reality. Look at what you're attracting currently. It's a very good indication of what's going on inside.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Tell us where everyone can find you. I know you have a big retreat coming up. Where can we find you? How can people work with you?
Yeah, so you can find me by going to my website, KamilaGornia.com. Probably the best way to actually work with me is through my membership site, which is, we have a whole lot of different things available, just because my client kind of roster, sometimes I have spots, sometimes I don't. So I'd rather not necessarily talk about that, but it's called the #Blow Up Online Marketing Society. You can learn a bit more about that by going to KamilaGornia.com/society. And, a lot of the things that I have going on, and we have a retreat coming out in October for about 7 ladies or 8 ladies or so that are, total awesome bosses and want to get to the next level. So that's going to be really exciting. And it's in Virginia Beach. So it'll be pretty exciting, but I always have things going on. I'm a very action-oriented person, so there's probably, there's always things.
And you have lots of free trainings, and you have like a giveaway thing in your group where there's like experts giving away stuff all the time. Tons of value to be found. Please check her out. Thank you so much for your time and all your incredible insights for the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.